Islam in Jerusalem is a fake news since the 7th century. The whole idea of Jerusalem as a holy city for Islam was invented by the Umayyads, who controlled the Islamic world between 661 CE and 750, means like 90 years, and they sanctified Jerusalem as an alternative place for pilgrimage, for Hajj, instead of Mecca, because of a rebellion which erupted in Mecca in the year of 682. 682, 50 years after Muhammad died. So they took a verse in the Quran which talks about the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which originally was between Mecca and Taif, two cities in the Arabian Peninsula, and they actually moved the Al-Aqsa from the Arab Peninsula to Jerusalem in order to give a seal of approval to their decision to divert the Hajj from Mecca to Jerusalem. And this is the whole thing about Jerusalem. And they invented thousands of stories about the sanctity of Jerusalem, including the night journey, the nocturnal journey of Muhammad, which is mentioned in the Quran, as if it was to Jerusalem, in order to show that Jerusalem is actually more holier than Mecca. So the whole thing about the sanctity of Jerusalem in Islam is based on a rebellion, or I would say a struggle within Islam between the center of Damascus and the center of Mecca. So this is the whole thing. It was fake news then. So the Shia did not agree to view Jerusalem as holier than any other city, and for them the third place in holiness after Mecca and Medina is the city of Najaf in the southern part of Iraq. The Shia, which are 16% of Islam, do not agree, but traditionally, that Jerusalem is holier than any other city like Cairo or Alexandria or Damascus or Beirut. Okay? So it's already a sign that it was something fishy about this thing. This is where the beginning of the fake news started, and surprisingly, even Sunni Muslims, some scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah and Razali, who lived in the Middle Ages, knew that this was all fake news, and they actually viewed Jerusalem as a regular city, not any holier than any other city like Beirut and Damascus. So this is already then, and Muslims discovered this fake news before many others. This is one thing. Fast forward to recent times. In 1925 and 6 and 7 and 30 and 32, I think, the Grand Mufti of Palestine, the Mufti Hajj Amir al-Husseini, who was a great Jew hater, he took part in the extermination of the Jews of Hungary in 1944. He published a brief guide to Al-Haram al-Sharif in English. It's a booklet which was directed to more or less British tourists, because this country was occupied by Britain, and in order to bring more tourists to this country, he published this book in English. And in this book, he writes explicitly that the Haram al-Sharif, means the Temple Mount, is actually the place of Solomon's temple. This is what he admits. In that book, you can download it for free. I could show you it on screen. Another thing, Jordanian maps, which were produced until 1967, talk about the Temple Mount as a Mount Moriah, no less. M-O-R-I-A-H. I don't know how to read it otherwise. This is Mount Moriah, Har Moriah in Hebrew, until 1967. Today, the fake news is that the whole thing is Al-Aqsa. They don't mention anymore Mount Moriah in any map today. And this change of the maps is only because the Jews who have to live under, just like Christians, have to live under Islamic rule as the dhimmis and pay the jizya while they are humiliated according to the Quran, all of a sudden they have a state, sovereignty, and an army, and they actually occupy. And this is actually a theologic threat on Islam. Because, as you mentioned, theory of replacement, according to Islam, Islam came to the world to replace both Judaism and Christianity. Judaism and Christianity are din al-batil, means religion of falsehood, while Islam is din al-haq, means religion of truth. All of a sudden, these Jews are coming, occupying Palestine as it was until 67. Again, they come and they occupy the West Bank, as they called it, and Jerusalem, and all the activity of Jews in Jerusalem is actually viewed as a threat on the raison d'etre of Islam, which came to the world to replace both. So this is why, by the way, they object so firmly that Jews pray on the Temple Mount, because this is actually what signifies the returning of the Jews, the resurrection of Judaism, which came after the destruction of the Romans. And this is why they changed the maps from Mount Moriah to Al-Aqsa, as it is today, in order to pull the rug under the Jewish claim to this place, which is based on archaeology, books of Greeks and Romans and many others, before it is Jewish books, and so forth. Because they think that this is a threat on the mere existence of Islam, because Islam was, or Muhammad at the beginning, was accused that the whole Islam is asatir al-awwalin, means the stories or the legends or the fables of the first ones, means Jews and Christians. And this is what they are afraid today, that if Judaism comes back to life and Christianity supports it, all the jokers will come back and say, as the people of Mecca said to Muhammad, that the whole Islam is no more than fake news. So this is why they objected. Thank you so much.